Good evening, lovelies. I want this just a touch closer. How are you on this beautiful Friday evening? I have like 20 minutes to sunset in my neck of the world. So Shabbat Shalom to those of you who keep a Sabbath rest. And welcome to my world. If you are new to my world, I would love it if you would drop new in the comments for me so that I can welcome you into my world. And if you have watched my lives for any kind of time, I would hope that you would say hi because we hang out and stuff. So my name is Sarah Jordan and I am a life coach. That is the broad scale umbrella of me. I work with women specifically in and around cycles, emotional cycles, business cycles, mental cycles, spiritual cycles. And yes, the very, very physical cycle, but bleeding or not, all women have a cycle. And I say that with absolute certainty because probably 50% of my clients actually have no bleeding cycle. They've either had a hysterectomy or they're in menopause or beyond, or they're pregnant or breastfeeding or something like that. So I know that the cycles piece is still there, not just in verbal. I can say that, but no, I have watched it happen with my clients and we have used it and worked with it and it's freaking amazing. It's it's so cool. So I, this week, have gone live every single day this week since Sunday. And I don't know if I will be here tomorrow or not, but I didn't want to miss today, Friday. And every single day I have dropped some sort of piece of amazing personal development or some aha moment or something like that. And so if you have not caught them live, I highly recommend that you go back and watch the lives from earlier this week because they hold absolute gold. It's so cool. And if what I say today resonates with you, or maybe you can just lean into trust and be like, it's Sarah. I know it's going to resonate. Go ahead and share this video publicly for me and then drop shared in the comments and your name will go into the infinity cup. But you have to put shared in the comments so that I know that you shared the video. Otherwise, I can't get your name into the infinity cup. So do that for me. And then once a month or so, we actually draw a name out of the infinity cup and you could get coaching dollars. You could get 60 minutes with me. You could get 30 minutes with me. You never know what's going to come out of the infinity cup, which is so fun. So, hello, Holly. Oh my gosh. Hey, babe. So, today I have a story for you. It may be a story that you've heard before, but my hope is that when you hear it from me, it lands just a little bit differently with you. And maybe you haven't heard it before. I don't know. But this is a story that I actually first heard from my father-in-law when he was not my father-in-law. And before I met my husband. I knew my mother-in-law and my father-in-law for 3 years before I ever even met their son, who is now my husband. So that's kind of cool. But he's actually the first person that I ever heard this parable, this story from. And I have thought of it several times throughout the last several years in the personal development space. You know what? I first heard that from my father-in-law. That's kind of cool. Ooh, thank you, Holly. I will make sure your name gets in the infinity cup. That's awesome. So, let me just ground here for a hot minute. So there's a lot of versions of this parable. I'm going to tell it to you the way that I heard it. Now, whether it's the original or not, I have no idea. I am going to share it with you the way that I heard it first. And so the way I heard it first, and I do not know if this term is politically correct, so if I am offending anyone, please forgive me in my ignorance in this moment, okay? The way that I originally heard this story was that there was an Eskimo grandpa. And so they're in the north, right? And probably in furs, possibly in an actual log hut or something like that, but it may be something more igloo-like because it is the north and it's hard to come by wood. It's hard to come by stone because it's frozen to the ground. And so they're in this environment where it's cold. They're in this environment where they're very, very good at living off of the land and being sustainable of their own accord. Like whether it's fishing, whether it's hunting, whether it's gathering. And so like everything that they need is in their community. You know, we have the people that fish on a regular basis, and they have the people that go out and hunt when the hunting is appropriate. Because, you know, when you're hunting, you have to hunt with the herd. You can't just, you know, go 100 yards out and say, there's the one. And so they have this beautiful community of everybody working together. And when they would hunt, they would bring it in and they would use all of the pieces of it. They would use the hide for clothing or for, you know, something to be a part of their home. They would use the fur for heat on their bodies somehow. They would use the bones. They would use the sinew. They would use all of the different pieces of everything that they got, including fish. Like there was something that was done with all of the different pieces of the fish also. There was something that was done with all of the different berries or the bush or the root. Like they knew what the use was for every single thing. And the thing that I love about some of these old stories is that they watched nature. They lived by nature, and it was out of necessity. It was part of the rhythm of their daily life. And being a cycle syncing coach, this is something that I really encourage my clients to tap into. We have the race, you know, the rat race of our life. But when's the last time you tapped into nature's race? When's the last time you watched moonrise? Do you know what phase of the moon we're currently in? You probably know what season it is because there's only 4 of them in a year, and so it's a little bit easier to keep track of that. But do you know what phase of the moon we're in? From a natural standpoint, do you know what the animals are doing right now in the middle of August in the northern hemisphere? Do you know what they're doing right now in the southern hemisphere in the middle of August? It's different. Do you know what the crops are doing right now on the broad scale in the northern hemisphere and in the southern hemisphere? And so they were very much in tune with nature's rhythms because that was how they lived. Like, if they were going to try and get a lot of work accomplished, but they're trying to do it in the dead of winter when they only have a couple hours of sunlight a day, it's not really the best time to do a whole lot of work outside. It's really not a good time to try and, plant or gather. It's freaking cold. And so there was a rhythm to their life. There was a rhythm to their daily life, but there was also a rhythm to their seasonal life. And as a woman, and as a man, but it looks a little bit different, but as a woman, we embody this every single month. And it's so beautifully sacred to begin to know what season you are in and what you're best suited for. And so in this village where they are in tune with nature and they watch the animals and they see the lemmings go from little tiny all the way up to adulthood, and they watch the 7-year cycles of lots and lots of lemmings, and then, the wolf population increasing to take the lemming population back down. And then they watch it, steadily build itself up again, and then the wolf population grow to handle this. Like, they watched these ecosystems, just this beautiful dance happen, and they got to be a part of it. I have goosebumps, I have chills. They got to be a part of it, which is so cool. And it wasn't a part of it wherein they're trying to push against it the whole time, which is what we trying to do with our feminine bodies in this day and age. But instead it was a dance with the ecosystem. It was a dance with it. And so, when this is happening, well, naturally we do this. And when this isn't happening, well, naturally we do something different. And so this grandpa, I just imagine him sitting by a campfire of an evening, probably about this time of year. The sun is still up, but not the days are shortening in there, how long the sun is there. So they actually have an evening time instead of just maybe I should go to bed because I'm tired even though the sun's still up. No, the days are shortening, and so they actually have an evening where they could stop and pause and maybe sit around a campfire, because it is warm enough still that they can sit around a campfire and kind of have this open sharing time among them. So like, imagine, if you will, like the snap and the crackle and the pop of the fire, and you can see it on like this grandpa's face. You know, he's weathered, he has wrinkles, he's old, his hair is gray, but it's a gray of wisdom. And the wrinkles speak of life lived, a good life lived, and the wisdom that is encased inside of this skin suit that he has. So you can see the fire kind of dancing across his face, and you can see the others that are gathered around the other sides of the campfire, and they're ready. They're sitting in rapture, ready and waiting to hear what this patriarch of the community has to say. And he starts his story, and he's talking to them about two wolves. And so because they're so in tune with nature, they get to watch these different things happen all of the time, right? And so they know, like, there's no stretch of the imagination for his audience to imagine these two wolves. And so the first one that he describes is just like ebony black, like sleek black. The fur is soft and flowing, and like there's no, in the right light you can see that the fur ripples, but it flows within itself too because of how uniform the color of this black is. And it's probably like a middle-aged wolf, so there's no gray around the snout yet. It's just this like solid ebony black wolf. And then there's this other wolf, and it's white. Just this brilliant, bright white. Like if it was out in the snow, you wouldn't see it. Like there's no black on it whatsoever. It's just this beautiful white. And again, like the sleekness of the fur, like if you ran, you could just almost reach out and touch it and just feel how soft and silky it would be. And he's telling this story, and he describes these two wolves, and he says they're actually inside of me. And one of them, the black one, it stands for the hurt that I've had. It holds the hurt. It holds the woundedness. It holds the abandonment that I feel because of what happened at birth. For me personally, I was flight for life away from my mom to a different hospital, and she had to drive to get to me. The abandonment that is there is housed in this wolf. And this wolf is always looking and aware of the potential for somebody else in my life to abandon me. Also housed in this wolf is the rejection. The rejection of the little girl in school who didn't quite fit in. The little girl who maybe was a little bit pudgy. The little girl who was super, super smart. The little girl who was teased because she was the teacher's pet. And then the high schooler, or the middle schooler, I guess, who wasn't very good at sports. Like, she would rather read a book, but by golly, she would show up with all of her heart when it came to a sporting event. But she would still rather be in a book. Then there's the high schooler who was just trying to find her way, trying anything and everything to have people like her. She was seeking validation because of the rejection wounds, because of the previous abandonment wounds. She was looking for validation externally, anywhere she could find it. And so this black wolf represents all of these hurts, all of these wounds, all of these disempowered pieces that can show up at any point and be like, we're not safe. Run, yell, fight, fly, freeze, fawn. All of these hurts that are inside of her that at any moment could be like, no, we're not safe, and we can fight about this, or we can run away over this. Maybe we should run away. Should we run away? No, we'll pacify. We'll try and just make everybody happy. We'll say the things that we think that they want to hear. And this wolf is inside of me. And a different version lives inside this grandpa that's telling this story. You know, he has his own wounds. He has his own hurts that he walks around with in this skin suit all of the time. And then he begins to describe the white wolf. And the white wolf represents healing, represents peace. Oh, the peace. And the love for your fellow human, the love for yourself, the love for the infant that was abandoned, the love for the little girl who was the teacher's pet, the love for that middle schooler who did her best, but she was still just awkward. The love for the high schooler who was trying to find validation anywhere she could, in a report card, in a teacher, in a boy. But it represents the love that is housed inside of me, the capacity for love of all of humanity. It represents the shalom that can be had when the healing comes. It represents the growth. It represents the money to come when the healing comes. It represents the amazing relationship that she gets to create with her mom and her daughters. It represents the generational motherhood healing that is going to take place, or is taking place, or has taken place. It represents the healed relationship with a spouse. It represents the breaking off of the spiritual curse of divorce. It represents the breaking off of the spiritual curse of self-hate. It represents the breaking off of the spiritual curse of depression. It represents the beauty that gets to come in this life, if I so choose. And so this is my version of the white wolf, and the grandfather is telling his version of the white wolf. And there's these two different wolves inside of everybody. There's a little boy sitting on the ground in front of this grandpa, like he's like between grandpa and the fire, like the fire's at his back, but he's just lapping up every single word that grandpa has to say. And grandpa gets done describing about these two different wolves that are warring, like they're fighting inside of him. The hurt, the disempowered, the victim, just warring with this beautiful creature that's full of so much potential. And they're fighting back and forth, and the disempowered wants to throw a fit, and the other one's like, no, we can work through this, we can heal this. Let's make it not a problem anymore, so that we don't have to fawn, so that we don't have to fight, so that we don't have to freeze, so that we don't have, what am I missing? I think I said them all. Fly. We don't have to fly. We don't have to leave. And so this little boy sitting at the feet of grandpa, and he's so curious because, you know, little boys like a good fight, right? They like a good fight. Who's gonna win, grandpa? Which wolf wins? And grandpa takes a deep breath, and he focuses. He's been looking at his whole audience as he's been talking, but he focuses on this little boy sitting at his feet in between him and the fire. And he looks at him, and he has all the love he could possibly have when he focuses his eyes on this little boy, and he says, "The one I feed the most." The wolf inside of you that you feed the most is the wolf that triumphs. So if you're marching around in your victimhood and your abandonment wounds and your rejection wounds and your bullied wounds, and you're expecting people to hurt you, and you're expecting people to leave you, you're feeding that black wolf inside of you, and it will get stronger and stronger and bigger while the white wolf withers away and cannot fight. And the black wolf is who will win in that fight. But if you're doing the work, if you're investing in yourself, if you're actively seeking to heal the abandonment wounds, you're actively seeking to heal the rejection wounds, you're actively looking to flip the script out of victimhood into victor, you're feeding the white wolf. And as you feed it more and more, it gets bigger, it gets stronger, and it will be the one to triumph over the black wolf as they war inside of you. But ultimately, they're both there. And you are the one that chooses which one you will feed. You are the one who chooses which one will be stronger. Are you going to walk in the disempowered version of yourself, or are you going to seek the empowered victor version of yourself? For me, I choose the white wolf. I choose to feed the white wolf to heal the black wolf. Not to starve it so that we can win, but to heal it. To heal it. So that I can walk through this world with so much grace, so much compassion, so much love, and I can reap the beauty that this life has to offer. But I know that I don't do that alone. I do it in co-creation with Creator. I do it by hiring coaches and mentors that have gone before me. I do it with women who have walked the path that I desire to walk. And I show up for it. I show up for the healing work. I have some grieving actually to do this weekend. Some 10-year-old grieving to do this weekend. And maybe I'll share about that and maybe I won't. But I know up front that it's going to hurt. I know up front that my heart is going to just crack wide open. I know I'm going to have a headache from the tears shed. I know my babies are going to be like, "Mama, what's wrong?" But I also know that on the other side of it, I will be healing a wound that I have carried with me for probably 15 years. And so I choose to show up for the healing work. I choose to show up and do that work. Even if it's going to hurt in the moment, it's going to hurt for a moment. And I'll feed that white wolf and we will heal that black wolf. If this is something that you desire to do, if this is something that you desire to walk with someone who has gone before you in, I invite you into my world for one-on-one mentorship, for one-on-one coaching. I have 3 and 6 month packages available at a special rate for the month of August. They're normally $2,000 per month with a little bit of a break if you do a pay in full option. But until the end of August, you can have 3 months with me at $3,333. So that's $1,111 per month versus $2,000. Excuse me. And if you do the 6 month version, the price is the same, $1,111 if you pay in full. If you choose monthly payments, that's totally fine. It is $1,222 if you wanted to do monthly payments. I highly recommend that longer term mentorship. You can come in with me for 4, 5, 6 sessions and we can get some work done, but it's like you start to feed the white dog and then you forget because you start to feed the white dog on a regular basis and you have this awesome routine down of watering and feeding and watering and feeding and watering and feeding. And then you're not actively meeting with someone on a weekly basis to encourage you to continue that healing process and you kind of stutter. And it's not that he necessarily takes a step back and the black one takes a step forward, but they just kind of sit in limbo maybe for a while. And depending on how long they sit in limbo, you may turn the tide back to the black one for a little while, or you may sit in limbo well. I've done both. I've done all three versions, actually. I've stayed in the mentorship and continued to heal and feed that white dog. I've sat in limbo and managed to keep them both at about the same size. And then I've also fallen completely off in being not mentored, and I've had the white dog get very weak and I've had the black dog get very strong. And so I encourage you to choose some mentorship that is 3 months or 6 months or even a 12-month package. If you want to talk about a 12-month package, I'm totally here for it. I will give you the same price for a 12-month package if you so desire. So that is my special August offer for you. And I hope that this held value for you and that you will choose to start feeding your white dog, choose to start healing, choose to step into the empowered victor that actually is already inside of you. I'll see you soon.